this live right now. And of course, I didn't promote today, or I didn't put up any thumbnails, or put out any newsletters, so I'm probably not going to have quite as many viewers right now. Let me pop this light back on. There we go. So, my name is Aaron Apter, drummer here in Nashville, Tennessee. Let me get this mic on properly. And I do a live chat every week to talk with people who watch this channel for when people are watching live streams and I can't reply to messages while I'm playing. And I get a lot of comments on videos too as well, and I haven't been able to comment quite as much lately, just because I've been occupied with things that are outside of the internet, I guess. Yeah, and so that's what I wanted to talk today about. I wanted to talk about like consistency and consistency with social media, consistency with your career, and kind of what I've been doing. And I have I feel like my audience is growing on a couple of my channels. So my cat's Instagram has nearly 20,000 followers. I have about 3,000 followers here on YouTube. And as the numbers, that's kind of something that we've always wanted to have. I think when we're doing this is that we want our numbers to grow, whether that's number of gigs, number of followers, number in your bank accounts. And sometimes we lose a script a little bit. And I know musicians, or just pretty much everybody in general, feels this pinch, this grind nowadays to always be churning out content. And I say that because I've been taking a step back intentionally of creating content lately, just because I have some other things to focus on. And I've started getting messages from people like, "Are you okay? What's going on? We miss your content." And part of me feels a little bit badly for that, like I'm letting my viewers down, or yeah, or like I'm not progressing as much as I would like. I feel the pressure. I have that voice inside my head saying, "All right, you need to do something," and then I start overanalyzing. Well, it needs to be great because your last video had 20,000 views, so you need to make this one have a 200,000. And I guess as anywhere you are in your career, I think the more success you have, the more pressure you feel. And then you're afraid that maybe someone's going to see your stuff and think you're not good anymore, or think that you're a fool. And we also have to really remember, what are our jobs? What are we trying to do? Is our goal to be social media influencers? There's nothing wrong with that. Or is your goal to be a musician? Oh, hey Joel, thanks for joining. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And one of the big things I talk about in this channel is about music career. In your career, when you're a musician, it's not just about music. And I know that we all know that, but this is something I really want to drive home. And I knew that when I was younger, but I totally lost the script about marketing, about networking, about I wanted to pick my battles and say, you need to pay me for every single gig, every rehearsal. Like I wanted to kind of lay down my boundaries when I was a drummer. When I was younger, I wanted to lay down my boundaries and kind of, I think I learned that a lot from my professors in college, who were already established as musicians, and they felt comfortable and they earned the right to demand certain conditions. And I thought I needed to do that, but when I did that, it didn't work for me because I hadn't really built a name. So here in Nashville, where I resumed my music career about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I've really been focusing on building my name. And part of building my name is not playing, but really going out, making relationships, honest relationships, networking, not like going out and trying to get a gig right away, but just being around the scene, always being active and never letting people forget your name, your face, and just being around and kind of not having any specific intention, but keeping your ear to the ground, making friendships with people. And that's a huge part about succeeding as a musician, because there are so many musicians out there that can play just as well as you can, or maybe play a little bit better or a little bit worse. But at the end of the day, what really gets you hired is people liking you, you having a profile, you kind of just building your name. And so how do we build our names? And I've been trying to do that with social media, and that's been effective. But one thing I'm really realizing is that social media is kind of, it's almost like an auxiliary. It is like a side dish. The main dish for building your musical career, building your profile, is going out and meeting people, like getting in front of people. So what you're looking at a screen right now, anything on your phone, that's great, maybe kindling for a fire. But if you're not out there building relationships with people, if you're not out there putting your name out there or just being in the scene, it doesn't do quite as much. Face-to-face interaction, a minute of face-to-face interaction is worth like 20 minutes of online interaction. It's so much better in person. So I talk about that because what I've been trying to do is go out a little bit more, meet people a little bit more, talk to people with no intention of anything, and really just trying to branch out, build my networks. And that's always been challenging for me to do. And this is where it might get a little bit deep or complicated. But one of the things that I found out, me personally, is that like many other musicians, many other artists, I have massive amounts of insecurity, massive amounts of self-confidence issues. I don't like myself. I suffer from depression. Things that are, when you think of somebody like a jazz musician, those kind of things, that self-loathing kind of meme. And so when I feel that way about myself, it's hard for me to go out. It's hard for me to go out and be social and talk to people because I don't feel that good about myself. And that makes me want to run and hide from people and isolate. And one of the things I've been trying to do is, I've been battling some serious depression this year, and I've been trying to like make an effort to go out and not isolate, go out and talk to people, meet people. And that's really challenging. And that's also a part of my job. So part of my job is also, if I'm having a hard time going out and networking, think about it like a skill where like I'm having a hard time playing this groove or playing this tune. Like, what do? Do you just wish to be better at it? No, you have to practice. You have to intentionally do that. So I don't always want to go out and network with people, socialize. I don't always want to put out content. But if I intentionally do that, and it doesn't have to be huge efforts every day, but if I just practice that with a set goal in mind, it doesn't happen overnight, but things will happen. And one of the things I've been doing is a lot of self-reflection, a lot of journaling, a lot of therapy, so I can feel a little bit better about myself. I can feel a little bit more confidence. And why I want to do that is because a big part of what I value as a musician, as an artist, is authenticity. And I want to be able to be my authentic self with people, and I want to be comfortable with my authentic self. And I find that people who are really comfortable with themselves, people who are confident, people who are social, people who are well-adjusted, they do much better in the music business. Now, you think of these wild, eccentric artists, the rock and roll star who's, dependent on whatever substances. And I think that's more of like a cliche, that's more of a trope. And there are people that succeed when they have massive, issues. But what I found out is that the musicians I work with and the musicians I admire, I found that a lot of them who have succeeded have really been intentional about their efforts in terms of networking, in terms of who they want to be in a room with, and in terms of building relationships. And sometimes you really have to step outside of your comfort zone. And that's what I've been doing lately. I've been stepping outside of my comfort zone a lot and just kind of switching things up. So switching things up, like where I'm switching up my patterns of posting online. I'm not spending as much time on social media anymore. I'm trying to spend more time in person. And that slowly but surely it's helping. But one thing I really want to keep up with is, I think it's really important documenting this process online because, again, there's not many people talking about you need to have your head on straight if you're going to succeed in music. You need to, these are things that I think a lot of people focus on too much and don't focus on these other things enough. And again, like when I was younger, I focused solely on playing, which is great, but I didn't really focus on networking. I didn't focus on going out and meeting people and learning how to network without being, without just like, say, here's my business card, give me a call me for a gig, because nobody would have known who I was. So really just knowing people, waiting to get that chance has been really crucial for me. So I've been spending some time away from online. And what I'm going to do is, that's what I'm going to be intending on doing a little bit more in the future, but I'm going to be posting a lot more. And I know those things kind of seem in conflict with each other, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be posting a lot more content. I'm just going to be creating it and batching it and having that, posting that on a schedule. And I'm doing this so I can kind of, if I shoot 3 or 4 videos in one day, and then the next day I edit 3 or 4 videos, I knocked out like a couple weeks of work right there, and I don't need to spend as much time online, as much time creating content. But if I just like do it all at once, and just like, one of the reasons why I do these live chats is if anybody has questions, I say, come to my weekly live chat, I can answer them all in one spot. Now, if you post comments on the videos, I'll try to answer them, but I can't always get there. And I've really been trying to do is check my social media in the morning, check at the end of the day, and then in between, I'm out there like working, doing things like I'm working on getting my health insurance, my taxes, my finances in order. All these like very unsexy things, and these things that you don't necessarily document online or on your social media because it's not a flex. However, having those things in line like really helps your career moving forward, because I'm also approaching slow season where opportunities slow down a little bit in the music industry. And I think, okay, well, what can I do now that the time is slow and I'm not working as much? How can I optimize my time? What am I working towards? How can I find other sources of income? Thank you for joining us from Sweden. And yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. And I'm trying to get more back into letting people in on the journey. Because the journey, it's really, I like to take people along the way with me as they're a fly on the wall. And the journey lately has been pretty rocky and pretty interesting. And I have some updates coming out about that. But yeah, and there's also some times where I'm just like depressed again. And then you feel pressure to like, can you just reappear after like being quiet for 2 weeks? Then you feel like you have to have like this huge statement to reappear with something great, instead of just like saying, hey, I need some time off, I'm back. So again, I'm really trying to balance that right now. Balance my time, but also balance my emotions and my mental health. And again, I encourage all musicians to like really be proactive about your mental health, because our job, our industry is always changing. You have to be able to pivot, and you could lose your gig at the drop of a hat. You could fall down and get injured and not be able to play. That happened to me, and I couldn't play for a long time. Life is never predictable when you're a musician, but if you really take some effort and maintain your mental health, and I'm not talking, I mean, it's something that you intentionally have to do. I view it as like brushing your teeth, washing your face, just something that you do every day, and you don't expect to be done one day. It's just something that you have to maintain. So again, for me, it's like what I do is I usually take a 30, 45-minute walk in the beginning of the day to start. No phone, let my head clear, and just really get in tune with myself. What do I want to be doing? And then I kind of journal every day for about a half hour. And sometimes just writing things out really gives me a clearer direction of where I need to be going musically, and professionally. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to be at coming up. We have somebody says, if you're severely depressed most of the time, get therapy and don't be hesitant to use antidepressants. 80% of depressed people can be healed. Yeah, Dave, that's Thanks for that insight, Dave. And I really find that health, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, and also I worked in physical health. I was rehabbing injured athletes, musicians, prior to me resuming my musical career. But a lot of times people think that there's simply, oh, I have A problem and I just need to do B to get my solution C, where literally it is like everybody has different problems and different causes, and they also have different goals and wants. So how do you achieve those goals? And different things work for different people. Like different people like different styles of music. Some people respond better to different styles of treatment and like what's causing your depression. And some people have things where they have situational depression, like maybe they lost a loved one, maybe they're sick, maybe they lost their job. And that's kind of a situational thing. And then some people have a chronic depression where it is something that is maybe some sort of chemical imbalance, maybe some sort of emotional issues. But in reality, most people have a combination of a lot of different things, and there's not one cause for depression. There's not one cause for an injury usually. There's not one cause for like a musical problem. It's like, okay, we need to take a look at this thing and work on it for a long period of time. So what I've been doing is just like I'm trying to, there's no one way to get good at an instrument. You just have to be diligent with it and intentional and practice it. And same with my mental health. So yeah, I've been going to therapy. I've been using antidepressants, and I've been changing my behaviors, like changing diets, changing your exposure to stress, making sure you get enough sleep. None of those things instantly fix them, but if you do that consistently over time, it really works. So someone says, do I meet any famous musicians? Man, I tell you what, in Nashville, it's just like, there are so many famous musicians, or so many musicians I work with that work with famous musicians. Yes. And sometimes I meet famous musicians and I don't even know. Like I met Zach Brown a week or two ago, and I had no idea who he was. Yeah. In fact, I remember when I had a couple of buddies of mine in town for a jam session, I think like Riley Green and Jamie Johnson showed up, and then Brock Lesnar of all people. Yeah. But that's about like, unless we have any questions about music, about the scene in Nashville. Yeah, and Joel also says that like friends going through similar struggles are helpful. Joel, you're absolutely right. And one thing I found about with grief and depression, and it's a lot more common amongst musicians than you know. One of the things that I've kind of found really useful for me when I'm talking with other people is I don't offer to fix anything. I don't try to offer advice. I just say, yeah, I understand. And sometimes really just being with somebody and understanding them or listening to them, it doesn't solve their problems, but it makes it just a little bit more manageable. And I think a lot of us, when we're depressed, for some reason, we feel alone, we feel unseen, we don't feel like we're heard. And sometimes just seeing someone and listening to them is really beneficial. And likewise, when you're depressed, sometimes just sharing whatever you're going through with somebody else, that can be really helpful. It won't solve your problems right in that moment, but sometimes it makes those moments just a little bit more passable. And for me, that's why I've been really trying to stop spending so much time alone, stop isolating, stop spending so much time in the screen, because I need to be out there with other humans, creating some kind of community. That's great for networking and building relationships, but it's also just great for like it's for just basic health. So yeah, I got a pretty full plate right now, today and moving forward. I think you're probably going to be seeing about 2 to 3 videos come out this week. I'm going to try to keep it at like just 2 though. But I'm going to do some videos about some various things here in Nashville and also I got some big things changing coming up. But yeah, I got to run off, got to hop to a gig right now. But thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you have, again, feel free to post comments. If you like this channel, if you want to support it, if you want to see more streaming gigs, I'll always accept donations. All donations go back into gear for the channel, back into data for streaming services. And eventually I would like to really hire somebody to help me shoot these live gigs and be able to show multiple camera angles, just to give people an idea of what it's like being out there. So if you really like this channel and you want to support it, you can support via Venmo, you can support via PayPal. I also do consulting work if you want to talk to me about what it's like to move to Nashville, working in here as well. I'm always happy to talk about opportunities like that. And you can always just email me. But all I gotta say is, like, just keep on trying out there, folks. Just one foot in front of the other. It's not done in one single day. Seriously. You see people who are overnight success or who instantly go viral, they've been working their asses off most of the time. And if somebody does go viral and they haven't been working their asses off, they don't know what to do after that. So really, it's just a long road. Keep plowing out there. Thanks for watching. Everyone have a great